One of the darkest realities about the 40K universe is how the majority of species in the Milky Way galaxy possess the potential to live incredibly long lives, but their environmental conditions prevent most species from living to their full potential. Their lives is cut dramatically short by the constant war that plagues the galaxy, and so many other factors that are easily preventable. While some species cherish life more so than others, and there are special circumstances that have blessed certain individuals with unusually long lives, the majority are under constant assault from the savage universe that seems to actively try to exterminate them. On this list, we will examine the natural lifespan of a given species, followed by how they value their existence and how often they actually make it to that age. Let's start by looking at the two races that seem to value the quality of life and go out of their way to increase their population's longevity, the Eldar and the Tau Empire. When I mention the Eldar, I mostly mean the Exodites, the Craftworld, and the Harlequin faction. Their sinister cousins, the Drukhari and the Corsairs, seem to go out of their way to do stupidly dangerous things, like somersaulting over an enemy that has the potential to split them down the middle with a simple swing of an axe. The average lifespan of an Eldar is 1,000 years, and due to the species' psychic sensitivity, a gift genetically implanted to them by their creators, the Old Ones, the experiences of an Eldar are hundreds of times sharper than those of any other intelligent race. It is almost impossible for our puny, pathetic minds to grasp the depths of emotions and perceptions an Eldar can take in. Because of this, an Eldari's 1,000 years would feel dozens of times more fulfilling than that of a human, even if the human could live that long. So much value is placed in the journey of life of an Eldar that they developed an entire society around teaching their population how to best experience life. This is called the Eldari Path, and it creates a blueprint for each Eldar to follow to get the most out of as many possible experience while they're still on their long and glorious journey. How much the Eldar care about their lives is best illustrated by what happens after they die. When an Eldar passes on, their essence is captured in a small precious gem called a Spirit Stone. The Spirit Stone not only protects the Eldar soul from Slaanesh, but it also allows them to live on psychically, and educate and counsel the generations that follow. The importance of a long and fulfilling life is also showcased by how comfortable they are in their craft worlds. Each one has everything an Eldar civilization could ever ask for, and although some work is required to maintain these planet-sized ships, the quality of life on a craft world is far better than any life on a hive world or even an orc camp. The majority of Eldar do make it to 1,000, and the most psychically powerful of them can even live for tens of thousands of years. This long life is only risked when an Eldar decides to follow the path of the warrior, the seer, or the outcast, as these paths usually have their followers on the front lines of battle. But even then, the Eldar tactics are designed in a way that protects and values the life of each soldier. Quick skirmishes and avoiding missions with high casualties is a common practice for the Eldar. Even when we look at the life of a Drukhari, we can't help but realize that even though they live lives that are extremely dangerous, the Dark Eldar want to live as long as they can. But unlike the craft world, their desire for a long life comes from a place of greed, not hope. They will do everything in their power to prolong their existence, not the existence of the Drukhari around them. Although they share a similar lifespan of 1,000 years, at least in the natural sense, the Dark Eldar have figured out a way to prolong their lives by rejuvenating their bodies through the torture of other beings. Unfortunately, this longer life is only afforded to those who are sinister enough to outcompete those around them by causing as much death and pain as they can, meaning that each Drukhari is not only fighting those that they wish to torture and consume, but also fighting off the Dark Eldar that are attempting to usurp their power. This selfishness is why most Dark Eldar lives come to an abrupt end. Only a small minority of the race has managed to outlive their natural life expectancy. Now we can move on to the Tau Empire. This young alien species has one of the shortest natural lifespans of almost all of the major powers in the Milky Way galaxy. They have a measly 30 to 40 year long lifespan. However, the quality of their life is much better than the majority of other races. Although short-lived, the Tau Empire provides a social structure that gives to all of their people. Not only does each Tau have the basic level requirements met in abundance, but they live lives full of purpose. Tau are constantly being reminded that their work is not done in vain. Their exacting efforts allow the entire empire to prevail, and it gives them meaning to each citizen, regardless of what caste they belong to. Every member of the Tau caste system is unified in their selfless pursuit of a better tomorrow, a future that provides for every member of the empire, and one that is striving to better the lives of future generations. On top of their incredibly rare social structure, the Tau Empire has been experimenting with prolonging the life of their population. They have done this with a few significant figures in the Empire, by laying them to rest in stasis capsules that preserve the Tau until they are required once again. This process is obviously rare and only used in mass populations when a new planet is ready for colonization, but Earth-caste engineers are always looking for ways to prolong the species' life. The only caste that doesn't always make it to their 30th birthday is the Fire caste, for the obvious reason that they are the frontline warriors of the Tau Empire. But even when they die with the knowledge that they serve the valiant purpose of the greater good. The Tau Empire also makes use of two major auxiliary forces that live much longer than a regular Tau. The Kroot can live over 100 years, but their tough mercenary work usually cuts it short, while the Vespids outlive the Tau, but are shorter lived than the Kroot. Their roles as specialized assault infantry also have altered the data collected by the Tau Empire. Now let's move on to a species that absolutely has no value for their own life, the Orcs. The greenskin race is what we would consider a biological immortal being, meaning that as long as they aren't killed or get sick, the Orcs don't die of old age. The secret to this longevity is a genetic cocktail of fungus and animal cell that not only allows an Orc to survive with almost no resources, but the spores that an Orc releases can grow the nourishment that is required to keep an Orc alive. If we were to take an Orc and place him on a secluded asteroid, in a couple of weeks, the Orc would release enough spores to have Gretchens to tend to his every will, and squigs to eat. Imperial savants even theorize that if an Orc is isolated and all the spores it releases are destroyed before they can grow, the stress caused by the starvation will eventually cause the Orc body to revert back to a spore-like state, much like the ancient Terran jellyfish. However, this has never been observed, because no Orc specimen has managed to remain restrained throughout the entire experiment. The Orc's inherent aggression and desire to fight, unfortunately, is the reason no Orc has ever lived as long as they can. The brutal Orc culture itself has proven to be a population control for these savage and warlike aliens. Perhaps this was an intentional design in the Orc biology, left there by the Old Ones as a way to protect the galaxy from an overwhelming Orc infestation. Then we get to a species that neither has a long lifespan nor values the life that it does have, the human race. The average Imperial citizen has a shorter lifespan than we do, and this is due to a variety of reasons, but can be summed up as terrible living conditions on almost every Imperial world. From the smoke-filled waste of hive cities to the resource-depraved feudal worlds, the only humans that benefit from a long life are those lucky enough to be part of Imperial high society. These are the planetary governors, the rogue traders, the noble-born, the tech priests, and anyone that has money, power, or prestige to benefit from life extension technology. These methods are also as varied as the Imperial planets that they come from, but for the most part, a human can go through chemical rejuvenation, where drugs are used to repair damaged DNA and have the potential to prolong the life of a human to over 400 years. Then there's the augmentation process that can be used to replace vital organs, a common practice for most members of the machine cult. These bionics can stretch a human lifespan to over 500 years. And then there are those humans that use the powers of the warp to prolong their life. Psychers, such as navigators and astropaths, can use a combination of sorcery and warp manipulation to halt or slow down the aging process, extending their lives to hundreds of years. Some speak of members of the novice nobilite that live for thousands of years. And then there are the Space Marines, whose true lifespan is a mystery to many within the Imperium. The process of becoming a Space Marine definitely prolongs the life of an Adeptus Astartes, but due to their constant life of combat, few actually benefit from this incredibly long life. The oldest known Space Marine is over 10,000 years. To the Space Marines, a life cut short means nothing as long as they use that small amount of time to purge the enemies of the Emperor. Now we get to the mysterious Tyranids, which as far as we know, are ageless. So long as the Hive Fleet continues to find biomass to consume, the superorganism that is the Tyranid will continue to live, and even then it is unclear if the Tyranids have a way of hibernating between long periods of feasting, which theoretically has to have been the case when the Hive Fleet traveled the great void between galaxies. Even when a hive mind loses control of a bioform, the Tyranid will continue to live on until an enemy kills it, or the creature starves to death. And finally, the Necrons, a truly immortal race. The Necrons are soulless constructs that gave up their life during the War in Heaven. Even the Necron overlords are simply highly intelligent machines. If their bodies are destroyed, they simply return to their tomb world and take on a new body from their reserves. The Necrons, which were once the shortest-lived race in the galaxy, as they were known as the Necron Tier, are now the only true immortal race in all of Warhammer 40K. Now, the lifespan of each race is covered in a broad sense. There are individual characters within each race that have achieved some form of immortality. For example, humanity has perpetuals. Perpetuals like the Emperor and Vulcan can live forever. Even the Tau Empire has Farsight, who has the Dawnblade and seems to benefit from an abnormally long life. Now, the next follow-up question that instantly pops into your mind once you learn how long each race lives is what happens to you after you die in the 40K universe. We actually already created a video for that. I'll link it up in the top of the video or down in the description below. But basically it goes over the afterlife of humanity, the orcs, the Eldar, all the psychically powerful races within the galaxy. So if you want to learn more, the link is in the description. If you guys have any other questions or any other topics about Warhammer 40K, please comment down in the comment section below. We enjoy creating these videos. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. It's just $1 a month, but with that dollar, we create this type of content for you. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.